Congresswoman Madeline Dean, a Democrat who serves on the House Judiciary Committee. That's the panel that has launched this new wide-ranging investigation. Congresswoman, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Wolf.
So the scope of the investigation, as you've heard and as you know, is very, very broad right now. Is this a serious new investigation, or is it simply, as the Republicans are alleging, all for show?
No, it's obviously a very serious new investigation, robust in its request for documents. But I would say we could use the word target, or we could just say we're asking for documents from 81 people and/or organizations, documents most of which they've already handed over either to Special Counsel Mueller or others. And if there's nothing to hide in these documents, then it's not that big a burden. But this is a robust oversight initiative by our committee, the Judiciary Committee, seeking documents from 81 different entities and people.
You have a list of these 81 people and entities. How do you prioritize their importance?
Actually, I think they're all important because each one will be able to offer us facts and evidence to put the puzzle together. You know, for the past 2 years under this administration, we've seen observable actions and then also accusations about improprieties, possible improprieties by this administration. And yet we've seen absolutely no oversight. Congress has an obligation, a duty for oversight to make sure that we are those checks and balances on these branches of government. No one branch is superior to the other. So I'm very glad that we're going to be taking a look at, and you saw the framework that the chairman came up with. We are looking at possible obstruction of justice, possible abuses of power, and possible political corruption. These are very important areas to be looking at for any administration. This is a monstrous and robust investigation, and it's the right thing to do.
Logistically, do you have staff to do all this?
I do believe we do. It's a really impressive staff on the Judiciary Committee, and you know we've hired 2 top counsel to help us sift through this information, so we're prepared.
Is this a backup plan of sorts in case Robert Mueller doesn't come back with evidence of collusion or obstruction or anything significant against the president?
I don't call it a backup plan. What I do realize is that I believe every person on the Judiciary Committee wants the Robert Mueller report protected, but also brought forward into full light of day. Because remember, at the end of the day, the American public has the right to this information. And also recognize that what we're looking at is far broader than the mission and the mandate of the Mueller investigation. The Mueller investigation is narrow in its scope, even though we see that it's broad in the people and entities it's touching. It is to look at possible collusion between Trump campaign, Trump organization, and the Russians. We're looking much broader.
Is this investigation, from your perspective, laying the foundation in case you decide to begin impeachment proceedings in the House?
I believe we have to do the background, but I don't leap to impeachment. I know that the chairman doesn't leap to impeachment. I do believe we owe the American people the facts and the evidence, and take that where it leads us. If it leads us to the very difficult burden of impeachment, then we will have done our homework, and it may not lead us there.
Because, as you know, the chairman of your committee, Jerry Nadler, says, and I'm quoting him now, before you impeach somebody, you have to persuade the American public, including Trump voters. That's a pretty high bar right there. Do you agree that should be the standard?
What I agree is that the facts and evidence ought to show us whether or not the president is likely guilty of impeachable offenses. I believe the American public has a right to that. And I'm also old enough to have lived through the Richard Nixon era. And I know the gravity, the weight possible impeachment puts on the American public and puts on our government. So I take it very, very seriously, and I don't leap to any of it.
Let me get your reaction to this explosive article in the New Yorker magazine that President Trump may have actually wanted to pressure the Justice Department to file a suit challenging the acquisition of Time Warner, which owns CNN, by AT&T. The president reportedly said, I'm quoting now from the article, I've been telling Cohen to get this lawsuit filed and nothing's happened. I've mentioned it 50 times and nothing's happened. I want to make sure it's filed. I want that deal blocked. From your perspective, is that an abuse of power?
Certainly that's a troubling allegation. I have not yet read the article, which I realize just went online today and will be in print next week. Those are troubling quotes, troubling accusations. I want to make sure they were corroborated. But that would go toward possible abuses of power, public corruption, but also obstruction of justice. So this tells me exactly that we are doing the right thing by, in this committee, going after the documents that will tell the story so that we can tell the American public. We have a duty to report, just like you do, Wolf. We have a duty to report what actually happened.
If proven true, the allegation in this article, would you consider that an impeachable offense?
I wouldn't leap to that. I haven't read the article, and as I said, I'm somebody who really believes in doing my homework, collecting the facts and evidence, and then we can draw legal conclusions with legal counsel.
Very long article, a very important article, very well reported. Thank you so much.